orders Inec to respond to fresh suit seeking to disqualify Tinubu. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us once again. We'd like to say a very big welcome to you all. Now, if you're joining us for the first time, please do well to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now, to all of our existing subscribers, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our posts as they come your way. Thank you. Now, on today's report, the court has ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, to actually respond to a suit which was filed to disqualify the candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu. Now, the court has fixed its hearing for November the 15th. Well, now let's go into the details of the report and see why they are seeking that Tinubu should be disqualified as the presidential candidate of the APC. Now, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has directed the Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, to respond to a fresh suit that is seeking to disqualify the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Bola Tinubu, over alleged breach of Section 90 and 3 of the Electoral Act. Now, the court, in a ruling that was delivered by Justice Ahmed Mohammed, equally granted leave to the plaintiff, the Incorporated Trustees of Kingdom Human Rights Foundation International, to apply for an order of mandamus against the INEC boss, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. It ordered the INEC chairman, the APC, and Tinubu, who were all cited as the first to third defendants in the suit marked FHC/ABJ/CS/1960/2022, to file their defense before November the 15th, when it adjourned the matter for hearing. Now, specifically, the plaintiff, through its team of lawyers led by Mr. J0UŻT John Mary, is praying the court for a declaration having regard to the clear, unambiguous and express provisions, spirit and tenor of Section 90 and 3, read alongside Section 84(13) of the Electoral Act 2022. The first defendant has deliberately refused to exercise the powers, mandate, and statutory duty and obligation bestowed on him in Section 84(13) of the Electoral Act 2022, to immediately exclude, expunge, and remove the third defendant's name, Bola Tinubu, from the final list of presidential candidates contesting the 2023 presidential election, for failure of the second defendant to comply with the mandatory provisions of Section 93 of the Electoral Act 2022. A declaration that by operation of law and having regard to the clear, unambiguous and express provisions, spirit and tenor of Section 90 and 3, read alongside Section 84(13) of the Electoral Act 2022, the third defendant, Bola Tinubu, is not a candidate for the 2023 presidential election. He is automatically excluded, expunged, and removed from participating in the 2023 presidential election for failure of the second defendant to comply with the mandatory provisions of Section 90 and 3 of the Electoral Act 2022 in nominating the third defendant as its presidential candidate. Now, an order of mandamus directing and compelling the first defendant to exercise the powers, the mandate, and the statutory duty and obligation bestowed on him in Section 84 and 13 of the Electoral Act 2022 to immediately exclude, expunge, and remove the third defendant's name, Bola Tinubu, from the final list of presidential candidates contesting the 2023 presidential election, for failure of the second defendant to comply with the mandatory provisions of Section 90 and 3 of the Electoral Act 2022 in nominating the third defendant as its presidential candidate. as well as an order nullifying and setting aside as illegal, null and void the nomination of the third defendant as the presidential candidate of the second defendant for failure of the second defendant to comply with the mandatory provisions of Section 90 and 3 of the Electoral Act 2022. On grounds upon which it instituted the action, the plaintiff argued that by the provision of Section 90 and 3 of the 2022 Electoral Act, no political party in Nigeria is allowed to receive any contribution of cash or kind exceeding 50 million naira without showing the source of the contribution to Inec. Now, the APC advertised for contributions and its members by way of payment for forms into its account by various members desiring to contest for various elections under its platform. The third defendant picked his form through his supporters led by James Faleke, Dayo Adeyeye, and Babache Lawal, and he paid 100 million naira check/bank draft to the second defendant. The APC did not receive 100 million naira from aspirants for the office of president and has proceeded to send to Inec the name of one of the aspirants who paid the said 100 million naira as its candidate for the election without a submission verifying the source of the 100 million naira it received from the aspirant to Inec. The second defendant failed to comply with the mandatory provisions of Section 90 and 3 of the Electoral Act 2022 in nominating the third defendant as its presidential candidate for the 2023 presidential election. Inec is bound by Section 84 of 13 of the Electoral Act to exclude the APC and the candidate it submitted for failure to comply with Section 90 and 3, the plaintiff averred, adding that it resorted to the court action after Inec failed to act on its petition. Nigeria's democracy is under serious of threat by corrupt activities of politicians elected to serve the people in various positions, and the ongoing fight against corruption will not succeed unless citizens and civil society organizations support the government in the fight against corruption through a public interest suit of this nature. This application is in the overall public interest to promote good governance, public accountability, constitutional democracy, and the rule of law in nomination of candidates to contest the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is a public office, it added. Now, that is it on the details of today's report. Well, until we come your way next time with more news happenings around the country, do well to stay safe. Bye-bye.